This was a scene at the federal building in Eugene on Friday afternoon. By 6 in the evening, police declared a riot. President Trump reacted to the situation, writing in a Truth Social post that his administration won't intervene during riots and protests unless asked by local authorities, but that federal agents will serve as backup to protect federal property. Eugene police said some of the protesters breached the building on East 7th Avenue and went inside, threatening both federal agents and civilian workers. That's when Eugene police officers got involved.
And then when we started to see windows being broken and breached, it was starting to get to a place where it was moving out of the peaceful realm and into the realm of riotous behavior when that's happening. There was just a few federal agents in that building, but maybe more importantly, there was other staff in that building, civilian staff in that building that were very fearful.
The police chief says they formed a barrier between the federal agents and protesters to de-escalate the situation. He said federal agents from Portland were eventually sent to Eugene to take over. In President Trump's Truth Social post, he accused Eugene police of, quote, doing nothing to stop the riot. The FBI's Portland field office is asking the public for help identifying the rioters that made it into the building on Friday. Governor Kotek spoke along state leaders about the situation in Eugene yesterday, saying in part, peaceful protest is a constitutional right. We can and must use that right to push back without breaking the law or putting people at risk. She went on to say, quote, criminal actions distract from the real harm caused by federal immigration policies and create the chaos the Trump administration is looking for.